Welcome to the Making Waves at Sea Level podcast with your host, Tom Singer. In each episode, we will explore the interesting stories of business executives, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders who are shaking things up and growing their companies. It is time to make some waves. Now here's your host, Tom Singer.
Hey there, you have found your way to another episode of Making Waves at Sea Level. I'll tell you what, thank you. I am so appreciative that you listen to this podcast, whether this is the first time you have ever listened or whether this is like over 630 episodes that you've caught them all. I actually don't know if anybody has caught them all. I have, but I don't know if anybody else has. But thank you for however many you've been here. It's been quite a journey. As we started the show, it was called Cool Things Entrepreneurs Do. Since I joined the executive search world, we have upped the game and we're dealing with how do you grow a big company? What do you do? How do you shake things up in corporate America to be able to get more out of your team and find more success? So today, before we get started, I do want to plug one thing, and that is, if you're a professional speaker, full-time, part-time, or really if you just dream about getting on stage and speaking, I want you to check out another podcast. It's called Speakernomics. It is the new podcast from the National Speakers Association. And, I'm very proud of the fact that they have a lot of members, many of which are great speakers, lots of whom have podcasts, and they tapped me to partner with them to launch this new show. And on this show, we interview people about how do you make more money as a speaker and how do you grow your business? And the theme, the motto, if you will, of Speakernomics is speak, get paid, repeat. So you can find Speakernomics on Apple Podcasts, C-Suite Radio, Spotify, really pretty much anywhere you get your podcast love. Go check it out, subscribe, and if you like the show, tell me what you like about it. It's a little different from the way I host this show, so it's kind of a little shaking things up. So today, we're going to talk to another person in the cannabis industry. You may have noticed over the last few months, I've interviewed 4 or 5 people from this industry because we like to talk about making waves and shaking things up. And this is an industry that is really taking the world by storm because 10 years ago, the legal cannabis industry, whether it's CBD or whether it's THC products, didn't really exist. And now it's legal in almost half the states or around half the states in the United States, legal in many countries around the world. And I believe pretty soon you're going to see it legal in all 50 states and you're going to continue to see these businesses growing. In fact, the executive search firm that I work for is one of the leaders in helping place executives into cannabis companies that are looking for CEOs, CIOs, etc. So I think this is an industry, no matter what we do, we should be watching. Whether you're somebody who supports it or not, we can be learning from the people who are working in that industry. And today, I have Scott McDowell. Now, Scott has a media platform and also has a line of CBD products. So he's working in the business and he helps promote others who are in the business. His company is called bloommaryjane.com. You can find them, I assume, at bloommaryjane.com. And he also has, like I said, his line of CBD products. And he has a media platform promoting those who work in and around the cannabis industry. So Scott, welcome to Making Waves at Sea Level.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's snowing here in Colorado, so it's good fit. I wish I was at sea, but this'll do. Making waves here is just fine as well.
Well, we mean sea level, like CEO, CIO.
Oh, yeah.
Has nothing to do with the ocean. I did interview a guy the other day, and his background was all surfboards and palm trees. And he was hoping we were going to talk about being at sea level, riding the waves. But
anyway, I know all about C-suite executives. I was just trying to be funny. I think that anything that can make me think about the ocean in this cold Colorado snowy day would help. So
well, as we record this, which is a couple of weeks before it will air, it is late January, and Austin, Texas is 75 or 80 degrees today. So
wow.
No snow in Austin, Texas this week. Anyway, so Scott, tell me a little bit about your background. What did you do before you got into the CBD world? And tell me a little bit about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so pre-COVID, I worked on a lot of events and festivals here in Colorado. Some that you might be familiar with would probably be like the X Games, Winter X Games in Aspen. I sold a lot of after-party sponsorships at Bootsy Bellows, which is a really high-end nightclub up there. And I was also doing some product placement with some of the athletes and VIP types that attend the game. So I would work with a couple brands. They would hire me, and I would have a couple of our brand ambassadors kind of doing hand-to-hand combat, so to speak, putting hands in products of people that could kind of benefit from brand exposure. And so I did a little bit of that. And then once COVID happened, there was no events to either sell sponsorships into or do product placement at. So I kind of was at a standstill and, wasn't sure what I was going to do. So, I wound up coming up with the idea for bloommaryjane.com. And in the past, I had done some marketing and promotions for a couple record labels. And I started a blog when I was there called internationalhiphop.com that I wound up selling. And so I had an idea of how to run a blog and things, So it's definitely helpful to have that experience and really being able to kind of focus more so now on the future of Bloom Mary Jane.
So the world of cannabis, I mean, Colorado is sort of the epicenter of it, right? It's one of the first places in the United States where that was made legal. It's been people have been in business for a long time, and I think it's an interesting industry because, as I said in the introduction, lots of things are changing. I've interviewed several people who said just in their 5 years in business or 10 years in business, they've watched the regulations all change. So how do you think that when it comes to marketing and strategy, which is your background, how do you think that this industry is showing people how to shake things up and make waves and grow around all of the both controversy and just open fields that they have to grow?
So, I mean, it's definitely challenging because the rules and regulations change state by state, and they also change every so often. I mean, sometimes it's daily. The Marijuana Enforcement Division here in Colorado will, throw in a new rule, whether that be for testing or for advertising, whatever it is. So it's just, I'd say really just keeping up on the rules and regulations, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement on, different opportunities to kind of see the industry grow. Federally legal is really what I'm excited for because, and then really globally as well. I think that's kind of what, the opportunities really lie ahead. And some of these rawer markets where it can kind of use Colorado as a blueprint. One of my close friends, Danny Schaefer from My 420 Tours, he helped write the hospitality bill with several work groups and legislation and kind of got a bill passed. And, now each municipality and state each municipality and county has to adopt it in the state. And, so it's just really a process of, kind of being involved in the government and using Colorado as a blueprint. The hospitality bill, has a lot to do with social consumption and micro sales and consumption lounges. So definitely, I'd say Colorado has a lot to offer as far as being the blueprint, so to speak, for some of the newer markets.
So my understanding, and I don't live in Colorado, I don't live in a state where this is legal, but my understanding is that the cannabis industry in Colorado, there is a legit community of people. The networking that takes place from people, whether they've been in the business from, the first time it went legal to whether they're launching sort of new products at this point and getting on the market for the first time now, there seems to be a genuine sort of human connection going on between and supportive community amongst people in the industry. Is that what you find? At times, yes, but there's definitely, it's very competitive. I don't have the exact number of dispensaries, but, there's, I think at one point, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's more dispensaries than Starbucks and McDonald's combined, but I could just be making that up. We'll go with it. It's, we all know that 80% of statistics are made up in the spot anyway. So
exactly. So it's needless to say, the last time I had a number that I knew was accurate, it was around 400. So let's call it 400 dispensaries throughout the state of Colorado, and probably more. So there's
and half of them are on Colfax Avenue, right? I mean, I was in Denver and I was driving down. I don't know Denver very well, but I was there to give a speech and I was meeting a friend on the other side of town, and so I just took like a straight shot big avenue, and I must have seen 200 dispensaries just in like a 20-minute drive down the street.
Oh yeah, Colfax Avenue is actually the longest street in America. That's facts, or at least that's what they tell us here in Denver. I haven't never looked it up myself, but everyone says that.
Again, Scott, if you say it, I'm going to believe it. So that's
right, exactly. So yeah, so Colfax Avenue is definitely one of kind of the main arteries in town, and then there's also Broadway. They have a strip on Broadway called the Green Mile, which is just dispensary. It's really kind of mind blowing, but. And all weed is not created equal. So you can't go to every dispensary and accept the same quality of weed. I really find, it's far and few in between the quality of, and, I'm speaking more so on flower. Obviously, some of the dispensaries carry the same brands and products, but I like flower personally. And I have a couple shops that I like to go to because it's hard to find good weed most of them at least.
So with so many dispensaries in such a small area, just using Denver as an example, not even looking at the whole state, but with so many dispensaries, what are some ways that you suggest to your clients and your friends to market to be able to stand out from the crowd? How do they make waves so that people notice them?
Definitely incentivizing customers to come in. Like, most dispensaries do that. Every day they'll have a different kind of promotion or sale to kind of drive their audience. But, really it's about just, with any type of product or, brand. I consider a lot of these dispensaries brands because they, some of them put out their own flowers. So, just building community around your brand, I think really allows for people to kind of gravitate towards, your mission and kind of what you stand for outside of just selling weed.
So your company, bloommaryjane.com, hadn't been around very long if you just started it during the pandemic. So let's talk about what is it that you do with this brand?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I would say, I really want to kind of cater to like the global landscape. There's a lot of magazines and platforms that promote things on a local level or even hyper local, but I feel like the global landscape doesn't get kind of focused on. So definitely global cannabis news and our product reviews. We have a really talented writer, Den Dave, and he's been just crushing the feature articles for product reviews. And we got a commercial cannabis award from the Global Health and Pharma magazine as the best emerging cannabis review platform in North America. And, I definitely have to credit him for all of his wordsmith. I've actually haven't done any of that's not true. I've done a couple, but he did most of the product reviews himself. And I'm pretty sure that, they didn't give us the award because of my writing. So definitely, those product reviews are really kind of something that we're focusing in on. And then kind of the creative spotlights is another thing that separates us from the pack. Is a weed blog is we're giving people who whether that be a filmmaker or a musician or a muralist, we give them a platform to talk about how they use cannabis in their creative process.
So I'm really interested in that because you had told me before when we had first crossed paths that that's one of the things you do. You do sort of these spotlights. So what caused you to do this? Why is it unique? What are some of the spotlights you've done, and why have they brought attention to your blog? Yeah, so it's been a bunch. Let me pull up the website. So definitely one of the main spotlights that I think that we've done would probably be with Al Harrington, CEO of Viola. He's a former NBA player turned cannabis entrepreneur. They're a multiple state operator. MSO in the game. And we did an interview with him on how the cannabis industry can be more inclusive of minorities. It's a very small percentage of Black and brown people that are in the industry. So we just wanted to hear from him who, someone who's really moving at a high level on what his thoughts and kind of, ideas are on how the cannabis industry can be more inclusive of minorities. And that was really cool. And then just a bunch of artists early on when we first started, that was really, mainly the first kind of wave of articles was, female designers and artists that use, more so cannabis related style artwork. So we did a bunch of those that were pretty cool. So yeah, just and then what I'm working on now, actually, as of last night, this is late January, so it'll probably be out by the time everyone's seeing this. But we're gonna do a highlight of the top women in cannabis. I feel like women are kind of overlooked. There's a lot of women on the emerging, kind of scene of cannabis, and then there's some who are at a really high level, like Chloe from Cloverleaf University and Dr. Dina, and a slew of other women that are just amazing at what they do.
So we'll showcase them as well.
So I've interviewed on this podcast a couple of really interesting women in the industry. The founder of Wana Brands was on, and she was a great interview. And then I've interviewed someone who had a marketing agency that focused on CBD products and has had that for a decade. And then just a couple weeks ago, we interviewed the people, I'm trying to get this right, Open Door, DOR, was one of the founders, and they are a franchise dispensary company that is just launching sort of a brand new model, kind of across state lines. You can have a turnkey way to open up. So those are all women that you may want to, check out if you're going to highlight more, all of which were great interviews on this show. So I think that's just another place to look. Now, one of the things by doing that, I'm a big fan of content marketing. When you have really good content, people find the content, they're also finding your products. So obviously the writing that you are doing and what you're doing with the highlights and the spotlights is also helping promote your own products, correct?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would say, we don't use the blog we will be now, starting more. So pushing, kind of more self-care articles and just really educating people on, some of the ingredients that we have in our CBD face masks and also the bath bombs, and just kind of like educating them on why even just soaking in a bath is good, even without CBD, and why using, cranberry and bamboo and apricot seed and some of the other ingredients we have in our CBD face masks, even just why they're good alone. And the CBD just kind of adding an elevated experience to their routine. So yeah, definitely we're going to have some more educational stuff to promote our products, but I'd say really the blog is kind of, almost its own life form where, we just want to use that to kind of drive traffic to everything that we're doing. Obviously the more traffic we have on the blog, the more people, will check out the shop section and hopefully buy the products.
So I am not an aficionado of CBD, so I don't know, but I've obviously learned from interviewing people that there's the consumable side, and then there's the side that would be like your bath soaks and your face mask. Do you intend to take your company towards the consumable side? Are there more regulations with that? What's the line?
There's definitely more regulations with ingestibles over topicals, and I think it's kind of right now we're focused on we've only been having the CBD bath bombs for about a month now, a little over a month. And then, our new products are, probably out now that everyone's hearing this, but, we just launched our CBD face mask. So it's definitely, more of the topical skincare area that we're focused on. Cause if I do open up wholesale accounts, I really want to kind of focus more so on, getting in resorts and spas and with topicals, and then kind of the ingestibles. It's just a little bit more of a kind of liabilities that fall into place that I don't think I want to go down. But I don't know. Right now, it's hard to say what will happen.
All right. So I've got a couple more questions for you. But first, I have to thank the sponsor of this episode. So this episode is brought to you by Podfly Productions. Podfly, they take the time and the headache out of creating your own podcast. They set you up with the right equipment, training, and guidance to ensure that you're going to sound amazing. Podfly does all the heavy lifting and that pesky technical work so that you can focus on creating great content, growing your audience, and interviewing people who are making waves in their industries like Scott McDowell. Hey, if you want to start a podcast, and I know that some of you do, jump over to podfly.net/coolthings and check out the offer that they have for the listeners of this show. So Scott, I used to call the show Cool Things Entrepreneurs Do. What's the coolest thing you're doing in business right now?
I would say the coolest thing we're doing in business right now, kind of relevant to 2021 is we're currently putting together our terms of service and engagement for our influencer marketing campaigns. Everybody kind of throws around that word influencer, but we're really going to kind of have a stable of influencers that become affiliates and earn commissions from our CBD products in exchange for creating content on their social media and pushing it out through the influencer marketing channels to kind of start. So yeah, I'm just really excited. And I think that's pretty cool because influencers have a lot of creative capabilities.
So what advice do you have for people in other industries that they can learn from the executives and the entrepreneurs and all in the cannabis industry? You've seen a lot of people. You've obviously been around a lot of people. There's your company. There's companies that you've highlighted. What do you think that business in general can learn from what's going on, in Colorado and beyond in the world of cannabis?
I'd just say, it's hard to say exactly because it's such a new industry still, but, just kind of learn from the mistakes of other, markets that have been online for longer. Like Colorado has not gotten social equity right. And it sounds like Massachusetts is doing a really good job with their social equity program. So I would just say, look at some of the other states that are kind of doing things that, kind of appeal to you and your goals and objectives and kind of, really kind of build out, some framework and blueprints on that. If you're looking to get into the industry, just learn from the do's and don'ts of those who came before us.
Awesome. Any last words of advice for business people? You're a marketing strategy guy. Any other last words of advice for the listeners?
I would just say be relentless, determined, and just stay focused. There'll be a lot of distractions along the way. I mean, I'm dealing with putting out a couple fires this morning, and I've been on 2 podcasts all day. So just trying to stay focused on the positive things, like being here with on your show and the other show I did earlier, and not really so much focusing on the negativity. Just trying to stay focused on on the good things and just being relentless and determined to reach your goals. Awesome. Well, Scott, if someone wants to find you or they want to learn more about your company, where can they find you? BloomMaryJane.com is the easiest way. Or at Strategic Scott on Instagram for my personal page. It's the easiest way. Instagram, website, hit me up. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for everybody who tuned in and listened. I say it every show. If it wasn't for the audience, why would we do this? The whole idea of making waves at C-level is to help business leaders, whether you're in the C-suite or not, look for kind of fresh ideas at ways to go out there, grow your business, and make things happen. I do this show twice a week. Every Tuesday and Thursday, you can find a new episode on Apple Podcasts. We're moving to C-Suite Radio. We're on Spotify. Basically, anywhere you get your podcast love. If you like the show, do me a favor. Yes, like every podcaster out there, I want the reviews. Go review the show. But more importantly, tell a friend. Because when I talk to people and I say, how'd you find my show? Almost always the answer is somebody told me about it. That one guy told me a while back, your podcast sucks less than others, is what my friend told me. And I'm like, well, there you go. That's where we appeal to right here. We suck less than other business shows. So that's what we're doing. So make sure you tell your friends. Go tell them right now. No, I mean like right now. I'll wait. All right. And then be sure to come back in a couple of days where we'll have another interview with somebody who is making waves in their industry. In the meantime, go out there, do the best you can. Flex those business muscles. Make sure your career ladder is against the correct wall because you don't want to climb the career ladder to find out you're in the wrong place. I did that. Don't do that. And then go out there and have fun along the way. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Making Waves at C-Level podcast. Without your listening to these in-depth conversations, there would be no show. Connect with Tom at tomsinger.com and follow him on Twitter and Instagram at tomsinger.